My name is Rich Matteson. I went to the School of Hotel Administration, and I'm class of 1986.
What did you do after Cornell?
So, I transferred to Cornell as a junior from Arizona. So I was born and raised in Arizona, and I had never been in the eastern half of the United States when I went to Ithaca. So when I graduated, I had a lot of opportunity, but I took a job at a resort in Tucson, Arizona, in my hometown that was brand new. It was just opening, and I managed a fine dining room and nightclub. So I was in food and beverage.
Okay, and did you continue to do that throughout your career, or?
Not so much. I learned that year that being in like front of house operations probably wasn't something that I wanted to do for my entire career, because you work every night, every weekend, and every holiday.
And you have a smile on your face while you do it, of course, front of house.
You have to, yeah. You have to have a smile on your face. But so no, I didn't. I actually only stayed a year, and then I ended up leaving my job. And Cornell really opened my eyes to different countries and cultures, and like how much is out there in the world. And that was something I wanted to do. So I actually joined a nonprofit cultural exchange program, and thought it would be a year of traveling and living in different countries. And I ended up working for them for a little more than 5 years. And it was an amazing experience. And I was on the marketing side. But I was 24 years old. I was working in Sydney. I was in Sydney, Australia for 6 weeks. I went to New Zealand, and I met my wife. So that was, got a lot of good came out of it. Eventually I went to business school and got my MBA. And when I came out of grad school, I really wanted to do marketing. Like, I love what makes people make decisions, especially with their dollar, right? And like the consumer behavior side of that. But I really wanted to do that within the hospitality industry if I could. So I actually took a job with Pizza Hut, and I moved to Wichita, Kansas, which is where they were headquartered at the time.
Wow.
And, I thought I'd be there 2 years, and that was where I had my entire career. So I worked in the U.S. marketing side of the business at Pizza Hut for 27 years. Marketing is just such an interesting, I love like if you think about, you have choices, right? You have more choices. You have choices of what airline what hotel you stay in, where you spend your money when you go out to eat, and what drives those, making those type of choices. I just was intrigued with that, and it's, and then obviously, I love the restaurant industry, and as much as I was on the marketing side, we were a franchise-led business, so I worked really closely with our franchisees, and it was just, amazing people, and that was part of what kept me there, because, I love the restaurant industry. Once it's in your, they say once it's in your veins, and we always would say once you get the pizza sauce in your veins, it stays in. So for me, it was the people I got to work with. We were fortunate to have an amazing culture. And, I managed pretty big teams, and I took a lot of pride in developing the whole person that I managed. I mean, when you hire young people, you want them to do their job, but at the same time, I wanted to be a life coach outside of their job, because if their life wasn't balanced, if it was a mess, right, they weren't going to be effective at work. So I think my favorite part was, leading and developing teams. And, my job was to try to get my team promoted to new jobs, and my wife, so she's like, why do you keep letting people leave and get new, get promoted within the organization? I'm like, that's my job as a leader, but now it's pain for me, because then I've got to hire someone new and get someone new in a position. So
no, that's one of the best qualities I think of a people leader, is wanting to see other people thrive.
Well, that's your job.
Yeah.
Right. So. I think the biggest, looking back on my career, I think you've got to be an avid learner throughout your career. You've got to continue to learn, and don't be afraid to try new things. I think where I grew the most in my career is when I took on an assignment that pushed me outside my comfort zone. If you can get outside your comfort zone, you're going to grow as a person. You're going to grow as a business person. Sometimes it's not easy to do. It's very easy to sort of stay with the status quo. But my biggest advice was be an avid learner, and take opportunities that put you outside your comfort zone.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.